I spent a lot of time recently on a project where we were painting clouds forever, and it really got me into the methodologies of how to draw clouds. They're sort of very dimensional elements in a scene. They're three-dimensional puffs of sort of texture and volume, lots of volume, but light behaves very interestingly with them. At the same time as you can get away with painting them exactly the way you would if it was a solid figure, because it really does catch light in a very dimensional way. It has a deep shadow side, it has a highlight, etc., and you don't necessarily always have to play with all the translucency and the way the light behaves around it. There's a lot of fun opportunity with clouds in terms of trying to stylize them, in terms of trying to create something that's really interesting looking, instead of just the sort of puffy, round shapes that we've all seen a million times. There's so much opportunity to stylize them. And as I'm sort of dragging and sharpening these shapes, I'm looking for opportunities to go from really smooth and ambiguous, round, fluffy shapes and wispy clouds to sort of a really narrow, sharp edge, which is really that stylized element. As we're getting towards the background there, I decided to do a big cityscape, and eventually I also use, photo textures just to help me get some of that immense detail that happens in huge cityscapes. It's a lot of balancing of very subtle value ranges, because we want it to feel like it's far away. So it needs to be embedded in that blue atmosphere there. But obviously you want enough definition so that it can be seen, and so you can see what the layout is and that it catches some interest, And then I paint on top to really solidify it and embed it into the rest of the actual painting so that it feels unified. No matter how many photographs you use, you want it to feel like the rest of the style of the painting. Otherwise, it's really distracting. As I'm painting it, I'm figuring out what the city will look like eventually, and it's kind of fun to layer in one thing at a time, and the painting itself starts to inspire you to what you could have. Obviously, if this was client work, the brief would already be there and you'd already have an idea what the city would be like, and there would be a reason for a lot of it. So when you do your own stuff, I like to do it this way, where I can just improvise as I go, and it makes it fun and it makes it interesting and keeps the ideas flowing. And that's how I can achieve the best paintings, by just kind of letting myself improvise as I go. So towards the end of the painting, once we get further along, it's a lot more of jumping around, and then I'm fixing up small mistakes that I see here and there, and going back to the clouds and going back to the city. And the more I paint on each thing, the more I see elements that I need to sort of unify them a little bit more. Maybe the atmospheric perspective needs to be tweaked just a little bit. The more stuff I add in, there's at one point there's just sort of the two levels almost. There's the big foreground cloud, and then there's the huge, vast landscape below. But I realized also later I wanted to have some dimensionality and some sort of Z-depth to even the landscape below, so that there's a little bit darker blues closer to us, right below us, and then it recedes away into the sort of city. And then there's also the composing of the image that's constantly happening, right? So once I realized that we have that tower as the second focal point, I need all the clouds to sort of play into that and sort of point the eye to that tower, but also not be so distracting. And I want it to seem natural, but the composition should support the two focal points that I've set up for myself.